All right, it was a big day for your President Joe. He traveled all the way from the White House to his former hometown of Scranton, PA. Why? To sell his, well, pretty ridiculous tax plan, which, according to some reports now, could cost our economy, the U.S. economy, around 800,000 jobs. By the way, it includes raising the capital gains tax rate, quadrupling the corporate stock buyback tax. By the way, corporations don't pay taxes, as I read this, because they pass that on to you, the consumer. They want to raise the corporate tax rate to 28%, increasing the Medicare tax. Okay, and implementing a global minimum tax on multinational corporations. And as usual, well, his speech was filled with lies and a series of typical Biden bizarre gaffes. I'm not sure that he knows today's Tuesday. Take a look.
You know, thanks to the mayor, excuse me, I was going to talk about the old mayor, would hold court around the kitchen table with a guy who was sort of the David Broder of the Pennsylvania Press, the Scranton Press. You think I'm kidding? It wasn't, but anyway. And he would, they'd come and have breakfast at the table, and a kid could wander around the table where the adults were sitting, but you could never sit at the table. My grandfather would tell me when I walked out the door in North Washington Avenue in Scranton.
So inspiring. Even without his ludicrous tax plan, the Biden economy is struggling. Even the Fed Chair Jerome Powell had to finally admit the obvious, that the inflation data this year showed a, quote, lack of further progress. In other words, inflation is up dramatically year over year. This past month, 3.5% up year over year. The month before, 3.2%. Say bye-bye to those interest rate reductions. Here with reaction, he is the host of Kudlow on the Fox Business Network, our friend Larry Kudlow. There's a couple of things that Biden can't get over. Americans now are paying 39% more when they buy goods, when they go to the grocery store, et cetera. They're paying about 55% more for energy than they were paying under Donald Trump. Fully 60% of this country, Larry, is living paycheck to paycheck. And I just mentioned the inflation rate. We're not making progress. I don't think we have any room for an interest rate cut in June. I don't believe you think so either. That means that the economy is continuing to struggle from Biden inflation. The Bidenomics plan has failed. Now, where we will be come November, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, thanks for having me, Sean. You know, the first quarter inflation CPI growing about 4.5% at an annual rate. So that's going to knock out interest rate reductions. And that's what Jay Powell is saying. There's not going to be any, goosing the Biden economy for re-election. But the thing that's so incredible to me, Donald Trump cut taxes. He cut taxes across the board, right? It benefited every part of the economy. And in particular, and this is where Biden's class warfare is so bad, middle-income people benefited the most, low-income benefited the most, blacks, Hispanics, women. The poverty rate under Trump's tax cuts fell all the way to 7.8%. The unemployment rate for minority groups fell. I mean, here's just one little statistic. For all of Trump's 4 years after the tax cuts, weekly earnings, this is, typical families, blue-collar families, weekly earnings after inflation increased by 9.2% at an annual rate. So far, for 3 years plus under Joe Biden, earnings have fallen by about 4.5%. Now, I ask you, if you're running for president and you're going to raise taxes by $5 trillion, which is what Biden is talking about, do you think that's going to help the economy or hurt the economy? I don't care who you are. $5 trillion of tax increases? I mean, it's preposterous, and it will never work.
He talked a lot about raising corporate taxes. You're a lot smarter on the economy than I am. Tell me if I'm wrong, Larry Kudlow. Do corporations in the end really pay the taxes, or do they pass those tax increases on to the American people, everybody watching. You pay the taxes, not the corporations.
That is correct. No, that is 100% right. That's why, with the corporate tax cut, that was passed down, that tax cut was passed down to middle-income people and working folks and lower-income people, the bottom quintile, and they all got big tax cuts, okay? Consumers pay it in higher prices, investors pay it in lower returns. Why reverse a tax cut that helped everybody benefit across the board? It's beyond belief, and Biden always gives you the wrong numbers. He falsifies everything. This will never pass. Working folks know that Donald Trump's tax cut were their best friend for growth, wages, and opportunities. And by the way, Trump had virtually no inflation during his 4 years. So go figure.
Yeah. Well, Trump handed off 1.4%, the CPI rate. And by the way, those Trump tax cuts do expire in the year 2025. Larry, love having you. Thank you, my friend. When we come back, Joe Biden caught yet again with another, you're going to love this, another cheat sheet. You're not going to believe how the New York Times is praising Joe's fashion in a really, really hard-hitting article against your president. Straight ahead.